Shauketaly.
And very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And this morning, pretty good day. Dry, not quite wet, but we have something more interesting than the weather. We have with us Mr. Gomin Dayasri, who's had a wonderful tour of the Caribbean, where he's been watching that wonderful and noble game, the gentleman's game, cricket, and to share his stories on balls, pitches, games, ethics, and a little bit of legal business. He's right here, Mr. Gomin Dayasri. Very good morning to you.
Thank you, but I don't know whether I would enjoy that trip very much, because I left Sri Lanka because I was sick of politics in this country and I was contributing to that subject. I got sick of it the day I found that the 16 MPs who had turned again, who were holding positions in government, were being accommodated in the SLFP. So that means another 5 years. That's what one of the young journalists said. Next 5 years belongs to the Rajapaksas, and that's the end. I don't think 5 years. I think it's 3 years of Rajapaksas, and we got to live through it. And I was sick of it. So
why 3 years?
Because I don't think they can hold popularity for 5 years. People are more alive today to events, and if they get what the young journalist told me was that they will have 5 years of the SLFP and Rajapaksas. After that, you'll never hear of Rajapaksas. Maybe he's right, but I think for 5 years you'll hear of Rajapaksas, but you will have Rajapaksas in their glory only maybe 2 years, 3 years, and thanks to Ranil Wickremesinghe and Sirisena.
I think the former president, for all his affability and all that, has gone in his retirement or semi-retirement. He's become a statistician. Did you know that?
I don't know what
he's become an expert on the viewing figures.
I don't know what figures, but I can tell you he's not a working man. He's a more anecdotal time, and I don't think we are going to see a great change. So that I was so sick of things that I thought I'd take to sport journalism, and the subject I love was cricket. So I told...
And how was the Caribbean?
Caribbean was very disappointing. I must say that you get the cheapest kind of tourists, mostly British. And they are in the beaches. Those beaches are some of the filthiest things I've seen. Seaweeds all over, droppings, and a lot of black soot coming from the Atlantic and the Caribbean seas. So
not clean, the beaches?
No, not at all. And so much so that most of the tourists don't sit in the beach. There's some distance away little enclaves where they have kept decks, and they are seated on that, and that's life. It's very pathetic, because West Indians, they are very rough, they are very gruff. They are very ruthless, but they are the kindest, the most loveliest people I met, very easygoing, very honourable, but they have failings. They think the Elizabeth II is the end of the world. They think she's a giver, and they venerate her. Two, they'll all carry English names. They've forgot their language. They're speaking only English, and they carry English names, and they are they are a society of toilet paper. They use toilet paper instead of which they don't at home. So that's the kind of society there is. So that I remember when I was at Danny Sammy Stadium, I couldn't use the toilet.
Right.
So I had to go outside and use a piece of, cut some figs from the jungle and clean myself up. So bad. But they are lovely people. And
lovely people. And what's the standard of cricket like? Are they still fearsome? Have they got...
cricket is a very interesting topic, because they are crazy about cricket. And do you know that a little island called Barbados, which has about 386,000 people, have produced every cricket of note in the West Indies, except for Lara, except for Richards, except for those two in recent times. Every cricket of note is with them, Gary Sobers to everybody. So that little island is a place where they propagate the best of cricketers. But I must say something else. But West Indies are very nice people, very sporting people. And do you know something? This I won't disclose to anybody else, but I'm telling you, I won't name names, don't ask me. 2 of the present West Indian cricketers are married to 2 Sri Lankan girls.
Oh, really?
Yes, no one knows that, and those girls...
Present players?
Very pleasant girls, I saw.
No, I mean they currently play cricket now?
Yes, they play cricket now. The one is playing, one he couldn't be selected. He would have been in because he was injured.
Ah, you've given the game away now.
Yes, I'll tell his name. He's Narayan. And strange, when I was being wheeled at the airport by one of the medics, he told me that you speak just like my aunt. I said, who's your aunt? Are you Sri Lankan? He asked. Yes, I said, yes. How did you guess? He said, you speak just like my aunt. He said, who's your aunt? He said, Narayan's wife.
Oh, I see.
And the other one is, I saw the pictures, but I'm not going to disclose because I kept that anonymity because I think people, just because they are wives of students, shouldn't get the kind of publicity if they don't want it. You must respect their privacy. So I didn't intrude into their lives.
And
let's get down to the event itself, Faraz. Now, I told you why I went. I was sick of...
What about the ball tampering?
Yes, ball tampering.
It's all about balls, isn't it? What about
you are hitting the dangerous spot. But now, let me tell you about that. I was retained, it's not the first ball tampering, second ball tampering. The last time ball tampering was in days before the World Cup, when our coffers in the Board of Cricket were totally empty. So I remember 3-4 gentlemen like Hilary Marceline, Ian Pearis, I think Anna Puncheva, they came one day and asked, can you appear? But we don't have money. I said, I'm glad to do that because cricket is my passion. I love cricket. And I said, I'll do it very happily. And
but that was in the past?
That was past. So this time what happened was, before I went to the Windies, I told Ashley De Silva, who is, I think, the CEO of cricket, I said, Ashley, I'm going to the West Indies. I'm going on my own steam, so I'm totally independent. I'm paying for the whole trip. I'm not getting paid, but I'm doing some work for your network and for Daily Mirror. I'm writing articles, so I'm doing print, and I'm doing radio, and I'm doing television.
Yeah.
That's 101, yes, 101. So I said, if you want me for any legal thing, I'm sure you don't, but if you need, I'm available. So when this ball tampering thing happened for us, amazing thing happened because, you see, when there's another allied incident, I was told, I think they mistook me for a casino player from India or whatever country. They took me and they told me, they were very hard on me.
Do you have casinos there then?
I didn't see, but I'm sure there is. There has to be. Okay. But every society has casinos, including Sri Lanka. So
we have a different type of casino. It's at the central bank and at the stock exchange. But carry on.
Well, so when I went there, I told him maybe that would have prompted Guru Singha to walk across the ground, and he came to the media box when I was not there. When I came, I saw him being grilled by the journalists. So I told Guru Singha, you go out, I'll speak to you. He said he had come to meet me. And he told me his side of the story.
Right.
I was very impressed because he was standing by the boys here and Haturu Singha, and he did a magnificent job. So I told him, look, Guru, are you retaining me? He said, yes, I want you. I'm sure Ashley must have told him that was at hand. So I said, I'm available. Came back to the box, told all the journalists, including 4 lovely journalists who had come from Sri Lanka, 4 young boys. But they were sponsored by the cricket board, but they were really independent, free-thinking journalists.
Good.
And I have great admiration for them.
How they should be.
Precisely. And they were from Maubima, Lanka and 2 from the island newspapers, Reva Silva and Asela. Asela was a walking, talking encyclopedia on cricket. Now, sir, what happened was while I was there, I told them, you mustn't ask me any more questions on Sri Lanka cricket because I've changed role from media man to a lawyer. And I must say, every one of them, including all the West Indian journalists, 6 of them, and mind you, very interesting, led by a Muslim lady in Perda. She was the chief reporter and the dean of the press journalists from West Indies, was a lady journalist in Perda. And she and everybody never asked me a question at any time on what happened because they respected my professional integrity. Now, leaving that aside, that was that. And then next day I met Guru Singha and I told him, Guru Singha, you better come home in the evening because I had a house for myself. And I said, there's nobody, you can come. But he said he was very busy. I could well understand that because he had so much of work. And I said, okay, I'll meet you early morning. So early morning I went next day and a curious thing happened.
Yeah.
When they came, I met Haturu Singha. Now, Haturu Singha, I must say, is a more polished speaker. His English is much better. He's a more refined sort of fellow. But you've got to understand, Guru Singha does his job marvelously well. So Guru Singh looked not the same. I asked him, did Faizal Mustafa ring you? Because Faizal telephoned me. Now what happened there was that Roshan Watawala, one of your serious director newscasters, telephoned me, and I was working on WhatsApp. He left a message saying, Faizal Mustafa is trying to reach you urgently, ring him. I rang him, no response. I don't know really much to use this gadgetry. Gadgetics and myself are far apart. Leaving that aside, I could reach him. So within a few minutes, maybe 9:27, that's the time I remember, 9:37, he telephoned me. And I said, he's asked, sir, can you appear? Very respectfully. I know Faizal very well. He's a nice boy, comes from a good family. And he told me, can you appear for the board? I said, most certainly. I have appeared before, and I told the board before I left, I'll certainly do that. And I said, Faizal, but one thing is, for when I do for cricket, like I do for most clients today, I appear free. So you must, no, you must take fees. Well, that was all. And next day morning, I met Guru Singh. I also told him that Guru Singh has already engaged me. So what happened was, next morning when I went, a curious thing happened. Guru Singh said he has to talk to the SLT lawyers. He said he's talking to a President's Council.
Right.
And I was very impressed that he was talking to a president. And he seemed even more impressed that he had the opportunity of talking to a President's Council. I'm not. And I won't apply for any such thing because I don't like to attach my name to the right. Of presidents. Leaving that aside, it was very curious because he spoke for a long time with the President's Council and another guy. Both had names like Chandaka or Chandan or something. I don't know them personally. I can't match name to face, but I'm sure if I see them, I know them. And I was rather surprised that they were not speaking to me because I was supposed to be retained, or even if I was not retained, they should have spoken to me.
So they sort of summarily dismissed you, did they? I
was totally, at the end of it, I was told I wasn't necessary. So the coat and tie I carried, which I don't carry to the press box, that was a bit of a nuisance and annoyance. The rest of it was okay. Right. I went there and told the boys that I'm no longer there, but they never asked me another question again. And we were meeting each other both socially and otherwise. Right. But actually three grave mistakes were made in this. One, I think, is the speech that Srinath is now using against Chandimal.
Right.
Because I think Chandimal, what he said is totally different. This was told to me by 4 journalists who interviewed me. I didn't get a chance of questioning because that gentleman from the ICC corruption committee, like a policeman, he told me he'll throw me out of the ground if I see talking to Chandimal. I never spoke to Chandimal thereafter, so I was waiting to get permission from Guru Singh to tell him, the officer concerned, that I am the lawyer retained, that I must talk to my clients. So anyway, Chandimal was there, and Chandimal said that according to Srinath, he said the most stupid thing, that he did not know what was in his mouth. Now that is an aspect where he had to say, because even if he didn't remember, if I was there, I would have jogged his memory and told him, now Chandimal, you got to say what you went into his mouth. But he had told the 4 journalists what went into his mouth. Now that's very interesting, because what he said was, the doctors had advised him, because he had certain problems with his strength, to have various things into his mouth, like raisins, nuts, like almonds, nuts, and sweets. Right. And that he cannot remember which at that particular time was in the mouth. Now that's a very good answer if he said that way. But I doubt whether he said it.
It sounds better than saying I don't know.
No, I don't know what was in my mouth. Well, surely you must know what is in your mouth at the relevant time. But there again, there's a fine answer. You see, this is something that I told Guru Singh that I won't speak about it till the inquiry is over, because though I was disengaged, professional etiquette required me not to talk about the incident or anything what the client said. So I maintained it. But what he said was very interesting. Now I'll tell you that, because now it's all over, everybody knows what has happened. The incident took place, the ball chewing incident, or the gum chewing incident, or whatever it is, took place at 2:22 in the afternoon. Thereafter, the ball was in the hands of the umpires several times. Ball is in the hands of the umpires when the match is on and the player is injured, or when there's a break for drinks, or drinks are brought out, the ball is with the umpire. Then during the tea interval, the ball was with the umpire. Ball was with the umpire at 6 o'clock the next morning, because the complaint was made about 12 minutes before the start of play. Now, if that is so, you can't excuse any umpire who tries to get you on a case of intentionally trying to screw the ball up by tampering. The most you can go is attempted tampering. So we should have gone in on those lines and tried clearly to show that there was no such intention. That would have looked beautifully with the first point. So now Guru Singha told me I'm not needed. Then I told Guru Singha, have you summoned the entirety of the proceedings of the event? And I was told, yes, I have. But I have got, so I said, then there's no necessity to summon it. He said, everything is secure with me. Then I told him, do you need me anymore? He said, no, I don't need you. And that was not the Guru Singha who spoke to me. But I must tell you one thing, Guru Singha and Hathuru Singha, keep them in cricket. Because I'm not interested in who should conduct the case or who should get the kudos. Whoever it is, the young man must be thinking that if he had the decency of speaking to me at that time, because I was there on the ground or as an independent person watching the interest of the Sri Lanka cricket, I could have helped him. But instead of that, he didn't even speak to me. He didn't want to talk to me. He just wanted me dismissed from the case. Now that is a very serious matter, and I think somebody should take it up if they want to, but I don't.
So now, Mr. Gomin Dayasri, just last question before we go in for a break. Are we satisfied that this matter is done and dusted, that there was some element of tampering, or was it not?
Really, I think there was some element of tampering, but we should have disqualified Srinath. If we could have disqualified Srinath, and we should never have given an affidavit from, we should have never allowed Chandimal to speak in English, because I think that boy, I've never spoken to him, but I think what I saw on TV screens has a very limited vocabulary. I would have put a Sinhala affidavit and given a translation and got it to be cross-examined in Sinhala, where he could have told the correct story.
But this is what happens when with you, because you are a senior legal man and you have the benefit of years and years of experience and expertise, and it's a crying shame that you weren't made better use of, especially when you were lurking on the sidelines there at your own expense, and you were not going to present a bill to Sri Lanka Cricket to add to their financial burdens.
Yes, but I think I don't think Guru Singha looked at it that way. He was very impressed speaking to a President's Council. I mean, President's Council, in Khalstoff, there are more street lights than President's Council, actually. But, I mean, that's not the question. The issue is who does the job and does it well. He could have asked me, I was standing there. He knew I was standing there because he said, you are not necessary. We have spoken to the President's Council concerned. I think he must be the lad who appeared in the case. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure if I see, I'll know the lad. But he could have asked me. I was there, and I think it's a shame because today what has happened, Dinesh Chandimal can't play for the next 2 matches. He's picked as the captain. I hope they can get him back on track. And I don't blame Faiza Mustafa. Those people have told me that all the juniors, 2 of the young juniors who appeared are from his chambers. But
do you think we need a cricket interim committee?
I think really interim committee is necessary at this stage, but it should have cricketers like for example, we had very good people like Madhugala, we have people like Mahanama, we have people like Siddharth Vettimuni, we have people like Hema Amarasuriya, we have people like Riyansi Vijay Tilaka. So people like that who have brought credit should be in the board, not the secretary to the ministry who was another pawn of the minister. I mean, I'm not faulting Faiza. I know Faiza. He telephoned and asked me to appear. That was because I think Lakshman, I telephoned him because Roshan, whatever, wanted me to speak to him, but I couldn't get him. But then he telephoned me back, and he was very decent about it. I think it is some young
all we were doing was playing post box because we knew how to contact you.
Yes, that's because I was working with you all. I had the WhatsApp, which I don't know how to use up to now, and that was
anyway. So that was matters cricket. You had a good time. You enjoyed the Caribbean?
No, I didn't, because the food didn't agree with me at all.
Didn't it?
Oh, didn't agree.
You liked the jerk chicken?
No, I didn't like that. No, it was all chicken and lentils and rice and no spice at all.
And salted fish?
A little bit of salted fish, but fish was good. Fish was good, but very good was lamb was very good. And they eat a lot of meat, and they're very nice people. I never met more kinder, more nicer.
Wonderful. You must go and share your touristy stories with the Minister of Tourism and perhaps Sri Lankan Airlines, and then they might start flying there. Who knows? On that note, let's can we just move on a little bit, please, Mr. Gomin Dayasri. The JVP, the National Audit Bill, has come into play. The JVP says that the National Audit Bill is useless, and it's been passed with amendments, and they're complaining about that. It says here, even if this bill is passed as it is now, which it has, even a person who robs a central bank and gets convicted will only have to pay a maximum fine of 5,000 rupees. At least they should make it the minimum fine. Original bill said the maximum fine at 100,000, and it has now been reduced to 5,000. Who did that? The government has brought an amendment to that effect. The Auditor General says that the most popular topic, we asked him about that, and he said that was the surcharge powers. And the Auditor General says that there are no major changes to that. The only change is that it has taken place is that the person who is imposing the surcharge powers is the Ministry Secretary. Now that's a little bit worrying, because we've seen here Ministry Secretaries who've deliberately and by design misadvised the Cabinet of Ministers in the energy sector, for example, and caused the country no end of trouble, along with the procurement of coal and so on. So the Ministry Secretaries, I don't see why we couldn't have an independent man just like the Auditor General is, because once you appoint him, and it's appointed very specially, you can't just be going around removing him. And so that independence is essential. And here we have more powers given to the Ministry Secretary, who is usually beholden to the Minister. So if the Minister says, you do X and Y, because your next foreign trip or your next training thing overseas or whatever little sweets you give them will be at risk, and then that's what they do.
I think you're taking back from cricket to politics. I got to get involved back against politics. I hate it. But let me answer that. I think people had great expectation of this audit bill because of the question of recoveries, because we have this central bank thing which people are most interested that all that loot that went into the hands of the of Indian companies recovered. Now that was what people were expecting, and it was something that was being hidden for a long time by several governments, and not so. Once again, this government is, I don't know whether it is another method to safeguard the rights of the accused people, because if that doesn't have the surcharge so little, then why have it at all? Because
but don't you think that these ministers, this government, these ministers, these politicians are playing pandu with the country?
Of course, I mean now. I mean, Faisal Mustafa appoints as the competent authority interim, but he appoints his own secretary. I mean, secretaries are today not people, independent people like in the old days. They could assert themselves.
That's my point.
And today they are servile, and they have to be servile, as you say very correctly, because of travel benefits and other perks.
Yeah.
So the perks they enjoy, from car to travel, from the plane to fly, and the kind of class they travel in, all depends on their welfare, on the position they hold.
But we have, with all due respect to Faisal Mustafa, who's President's Council, but the mess he's created in local government in terms of all this, he's doubled the membership from 4,000 something to 8,000 something.
Really, I don't want to criticize Faisal because he's a
I know you don't want to
profession.
criticize him.
But the point is, Faisal is unfit for politics, and Faisal doesn't realize that he'll be out of politics very rapidly if he continues this policy. Unless he can jump the Rajapaksa train, gravy train, and ride on it for a while more. But even that train and all this traffic will stop in 5 years' time, I think. Because I think these people in this country won't tolerate this kind of nonsense that is going on. And you do know something on cricket, I will tell you. That
but isn't cricket at risk, though?
Sorry?
Well, isn't cricket at risk if Mr. Mustafa replicates his efforts in the local government polls? If he replicates that, and that is all we have to go by. His track record is not very good when it comes to that, is it? And then if he does the same, imagine what will happen to cricket. That's all I can say.
When I came back, a lot of people said, Faisal Mustafa, he has no credibility at all. You have credibility, so you talk the way you want, but don't take on Faisal. I don't want to take him, a man who has no credibility. Why take him on? I'm wasting the valuable time of your airspace. But I can tell you this much. The secretaries of ministries are not fit to hold these positions, and we have seen it repeatedly. Now Austin Fernandez resigned gracefully. Maybe he's too old and we have been ineffective. Right, but the thing is, we have to get right people, and I think it's the time for young people to emerge. This country does have a very credible record of young people doing good work, but they are scared to come into politics because the Rajapaksas, the Vikramasinghes, the Sirisenas and the Gotabeyas are running the show, and they have their own people and not people who are fair-minded and who can tell them off where they get off.
Now, Mr. Gomin Dayasri, I want you to ask you this question. I'll ask you the question, give you lots of examples, and then you give me the answer. Question is, let's start again. The question is, presidential commissions of inquiry, are these serving any earthly purpose? Examples. Why am I asking this question? Examples. Number one, cast your mind back. 17th of March 2015, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe arrives in Parliament, gives a statement. He says, I insisted on the change of the system in the way bonds were being issued because in the previous government there was corruption. The key words there, I insisted on the change. Roll back, go forward a little bit. Arjuna Mahendran goes to cope and he confirms, he says, all I did was to follow the instructions of the Prime Minister. Roll the clock forward a bit. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry, 2 Supreme Court judges on that panel. They say in one part of the report, I think page 917, now then, it says there that there is no evidence that the Prime Minister asked Mahendran to break the rules. Come on. That's a little bit like going, because we're not asking that question. They're not right, they're not wrong, but that wasn't the question. The question is, what was the role of the Prime Minister in this whole blessed thing, which cost this country so much of money, and everybody's walking around thinking that this is quite all right because it was done by the UNP, and after all, they needed the money. Oh yeah, right. Now, second example, it involves you. Gomin Dayasri goes to the Supreme Court, intervenes, and on the 19th Amendment, and Gomin Dayasri is posing the question that if it was in that form, that the people's franchise will be on hold for 4.5 years. They can't have parliamentary elections. Now, Gomin Dayasri, as a citizen of this country, has a legitimate expectation to be heard and to get a response, a yea or a nay. He needs to be heard. Chief Justice Sri Pavan ignores that whole bit, ignores Gomin Dayasri's intervention, and he gives an order that says that he gives an order without addressing that very critical issue.
Very good question.
And then at the end of it, he's gone into retirement. He's working as a non-executive, independent something director of commercial bank. Now then, that's him done in his retirement. Shall I give you the third example?
Yes, please.
The third example goes back to the Rajapaksa years. Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, one-time Secretary Treasury, applies to the Supreme Court and he asks them whether he can withdraw his affidavit previously given to the Supreme Court in which he states that he will not seek and serve in public office again. Now that was the question. Can I withdraw the affidavit? Asoka De Silva, Chief Justice then, what does he say? He ignores that question and he gives an order saying that the President, under the Constitution, under that relevant section, can appoint whoever he deems fit to be the Treasury Secretary. Again, a question of Kohede Yanne Malle Pol. He didn't answer the question. The question was, can you, that answer, that judgment is fine if the question was, does the President have the right to appoint XYZ or ABC or Baba Black Sheep? That's fine. But not when you are asking a question that may have some bearing on that answer.
Yes, very good question.
So these are the 3 points I want to say. And oh, I forgot, there is this other matter. Whatever happens to these commissions, we had something called, it's the B word, and yes, we all know what it is going to be. It's called the Batalanda Commission. What happened there? There you are. Now the question is, do we need commissions of inquiry?
Commissions of inquiry are a provision in the law which need them, but we don't. The way they have acted is very suspicious. May I put it this way? Let us take Asoka De Silva's case. Where did Asoka De Silva end? He became a stooge of the of the last government. He became an advisor to Mahinda Rajapaksa. Is that a post that a Chief Justice of any repute should take on after he retires, when he gets the full salary as pension for the purpose that he doesn't do any other appointment except give legal advice, may sit on another commission, but they are not expected to go as ambassadors, they are not expected to become presidential advisors. Second case, that was the case of, as far as the petition, 19th Amendment is concerned, I'm the guy I'm the petitioner. It's Dayasri versus State. Yeah. And I submitted very strenuously that the 14th Amendment takes away the franchise of the people, which affects the fundamental rights of the people for 4.5 years. And but did the chief? I mean, when you make a submission for 2 hours, I rattled that off. I presented
that's what I mean.
And then not only me, various other counsel who were supporting who was against the 19th Amendment, like Manohara De Silva later told me, I also took it up, sir. Now, if that is so, why all I want is, I don't mind any submission I make may be wrong, but reject me with reasons. They or accept me with reasons. They neither rejected, accepted, gave any reason at all. The Chief Justice concerned, Siv Pawan, he went home very happily to take up another appointment, as you say, in the commercial bank. I mean, he's rewarded for his services.
Well, I don't know if he's rewarded for the services, but I'm just stating a fact. Yeah. The fact is, he's serving on the commercial bank. Right or wrong, that's what it is.
And right now I can tell you this commission should have given that answer. I don't know, I haven't read the report, I've never seen the report, if that is the position. But I must say, this commission has done useful work also.
No, it has done useful work.
So I can't.
But there are claims, Mr. Gomin Dayasri. I mean, we were talking about conflict of interest. This whole thing about the bond scam is about conflict of interest. Then we find out, because somebody's told us about it, and we find out that a blood relative of one of the commissioners is working, or was working, at Temple Trees and listed under Dr. Harsha De Silva, the MP. Now, come on, we're talking about conflict of interest, for heaven's sake. What are these people doing to us?
Really, people must assert themselves. People must be economically strong to live for themselves.
They're not even economically strong. They're being economical with the truth.
No, what they're doing is they're greedy for money. Everybody is today, there's a lot of greed from lust for money. Without that, if you do your honorable service for the country, that's why I have appeared for every case. I learnt it not myself. H.L. De Silva, E.D. Vikramnayaka, S.L. Gunsekara, my
I was in court yesterday. I was feeling physically ill, because there was a bunch of legal men trying to defend this blessed bond scam. The best thing that Arjun Aloysius can possibly do is come out and tell the truth. How simple, most simple can it get?
Certainly I cannot understand why Ranil Wickremesinghe allowed Mahendran to leave the country, or even now ask him, has he made a request to asking him to come?
But he now says that he doesn't know. But about a month ago, he seemed to know more about Arjuna Mahendran than everybody else, because he said that Arjuna Mahendran is in the habit of moving houses frequently, as is the habit of the people of Singapore. Well, I had somebody start research this, and we couldn't find any evidence of a high churn rate by the people of Singapore when it comes to their housing.
But if you remember, he was Mahendra, if not for Sirisena, Mahendra would have been still this, if Ranil Wickremesinghe had his way, he would have been still the governor of the central bank and he would have suppressed all
I
matter.
can say is thank God for Sirisena, thank God for the presidency, because they're absolutely marvellous.
Now, I must say, not thank God for the Sirisena, but thank God for having this executive presidency with all its power.
And who on earth, I know he's finally retired, but you know, how come Austin Fernandez, the President's Secretary, sent the report, this Presidential Commission of Inquiry report, even before it could be dissected and acted upon? He's happily sent it off to be archived in the National Archives. What do you mean? They're running this country as though it's their personal fiefdom, is it?
And archives is the place to make people lose documents.
Anyway, you know, it's all laughable, but Gomin Dayasri, thank you very much for your...
No.
Can I end up with this very question? It's
yes.
an ethical question,
yes.
because we did promise our viewers we're going to talk a bit of ethics here. Nani, I want to ask you very quickly, because we are in extra time. Does the Prime Minister have the moral right to carry on in the light, at least in the light, of the bond scam and the Central Expressway scam?
Yeah,
at least the bond scam.
Yeah, this is penalty time, isn't it? Okay, I'll do a booting. I think he must get booted out. Time's gone, but don't worry, 2 years people will do it, for sure. But people will replace with another who will get booted out in equally fast time. So I think we don't have a future in this country. I hope young people will emerge. It's their fault. And all I can do is, I want to set an example. When you appear for cases that you like to do it free without doing it for money. Money is the lust.
So the answer is, can I have a yes or no answer? Does the Prime Minister have a moral right to carry on in the light of the bond scam?
Answer is very simple. He has no right whatsoever. He should leave, but he won't. He'll be booted out.
Thank you very much. Gomin Dayasri, back from the Caribbean. Do share your program on Pathikada perhaps next week in wonderful Sinhalese with the wonderful Bandula Jayasekara, who needs a guest like you to take his mind off other things. In the meantime, that's the way it was on this slightly extended version of Newsline. Thank you for your indulgence. Take care and God bless.